Welcome to our kitchen. Today we prepare an ancient Greek sweet from Athenaeus, the hypnosophists, called Stytites. We start with ingredients. We need spelt flour, sesame seeds, honey, and cheese. First, we prepare a batter with spelt flour and water. We need about 50 grams of flour per serving. We add water until it reaches a consistency quite liquid. While it rests before cooking, the flour will absorb water, thickening the batter. Stytites is a Greek word that comes from stais, which means spelt flour, the most important ingredient for this recipe. In the Hypnosophists, Athenaeus quotes fragments of texts written by other authors, or just reports what they wrote in their books. As common for this book, the recipe for the Stytites is just a list of ingredients, with scarce information about what to do with them. For the Stytites, Athenaeus mentions two authors: the playwright Epicharmus, who lived in Sicily in the 6th century before the Common Era, and Iatrocles, author of a treatise about sweets, called Placunta in Greek. It's unclear when Iatrocles lived. While the batter rests for a few minutes, we mince the cheese and toast the sesame seeds. We met the term placus, or placenta in Latin, preparing the recipe from Cato's De Agricultura, but an ancient Greek would consider placuntae all the sweets described by Cato, according to the classification that we find in the Hypnosophists, despite the fact that in ancient Rome placenta was a very specific kind of a cheesecake. In the past we prepared other sweets from the Hypnosophists, such as gastris with sesame, nuts and poppy seeds. You find the links to some of these recipes in the description below, with the playlist dedicated to historical sweets. As we said before, Athenaeus presents just a list of ingredients, mentioning the two authors. In the Hebe's wedding, he writes, Epicharmus recalls that the Stytites is made with spelt flour and honey. Iatrocles instead writes that it is prepared with spelt flour, moistened and poured in a pan, teganon in Greek, then spread with honey, sesame seeds and cheese. The fact that the moistened spelt is poured in the pan means that probably we must prepare a quite liquid batter, like the one we are making here. In addition, this dish is a kind of placus, not of bread, so we can easily guess that it is unleavened, since yeast is mentioned just in the part of the Hypnosophists dedicated to bread. As a consequence, it must be more similar to a crepe than to a pancake. We toasted the sesame seeds because they are frequently used in this way for Greek and Roman recipes, but the author writes nothing about that. We suggest roasting them because they are tastier and pair with cheese and honey perfectly. Then we pour the batter on a lightly oiled griddle or a pan. We cook it for a couple of minutes, then flip it and cook the other side for another minute. For this recipe, the choice of honey and cheese is essential. We used a sheep primosale, but you can use other kinds of fresh cheese. Dioscorides provides an interesting description of the best kind of honey, which can help to choose the proper honey for Greek and Roman recipes. His favorite kinds of honey are the ones produced in Attica, also celebrated by the Latin poets, in the Cyclades and Sicily. The best honey is sweet, intensely fragrant, with a pale yellow color, and not excessively liquid. Honey shouldn't be eaten raw, but boiled and foamed, a suggestion that we frequently read in the ancient and medieval sources. To know more about honey and beekeeping in the antiquity and cheese in ancient Rome, subscribe to our Patreon page, in which you find once a week a new article about historical foods and recipes, and once a month the translation of a historical source. If you want to know more about food in ancient Rome, check out our new book, Ancient Roman Cooking, available on Amazon in English and Italian, in both ebook and print editions. To support our work, you can also buy us a beer or purchase our merchandise. We serve the Straitites with the cheese on top, pouring the honey and sprinkling a good amount of sesame seeds. This sweet is simple but incredibly delicious, both hot and cold, and very quick to prepare. Spelt flour doesn't require the use of eggs to obtain a batter that holds together. It is flavorful even without the addition of other ingredients. But if you want to try it savory, add a pinch of salt to the batter. In this case, you can use a cheese with a stronger flavor. Honey, cheese, and sesame seeds, in particular toasted, form an excellent pairing, making this sweet perfect as a dessert, a breakfast, or a snack. It would be delicious also with nuts, such as hazelnuts or almonds coarsely ground, or poppy seeds, all ingredients widely used by ancient Greeks. If you're interested in ancient foods and flavors, subscribe our channel and consider supporting us on Patreon.